Hey, everybody, go blue. Quinten Johnson returns for his 6th year. Where is J.J. McCarthy going? And who is going to replace Michigan legend Mike Hart? Coming up next on Michigan Wolverines Live. And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. It's March 12th, 2024, Tuesday night. Because if it's Tuesday night, it's Michigan Wolverines Live. My name's John D'Adamo, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour. You can find me on Twix, as Jason likes to say, at John D'Adamo. I host this show as well as Big Ten Live Ocho edition. And definitely go back to last night later and check out Daniel House from Gophers Guru, who stopped by to talk Minnesota Golden Gophers football. So that was a good time. Let's go. Thanks for everybody for encouraging people to hit the like button. We definitely want everybody doing that. Hit the like button. Subscribe to Michigan football, the voice of college football. As I always say, we're in a battle with Ohio State. And subscribing just takes a second. Hit the bell so you get notified when we're live, and share the YouTube link out to everybody. Share it out to everybody if you can. It's free to do it, and that'll help promote our show. Put it on Discord chat, put it on social, put it everywhere you can so that we can get this thing really rolling. Also want to remind everybody that if you want your comment or question to be put at the top of the queue, send us a super chat, and we will do that. And of course, joining us, who is becoming a regular fixture on Michigan Wolverines Live, returning back is TJ Konarski from Ronin Sports Talk. TJ, go blue, and great job last week when I was out.
Yeah, thanks, John. Go blue, and looking forward to another show.
Absolutely, and we'll start right away with some breaking. At this point, sort of breaking news. It's been a minute since it's been out, but DB Quinten Johnson back for his 6th year, withdrawing from the NFL draft to return to his 6th year, and there is so much in terms of positives and ramifications, positive ramifications for the program. Before we get to the playoff, though, even just generally about NIL and what does this mean that a player that was going to go to the draft has decided to come back thanks to the Randy Wise Automotive team, who is welcome to sponsor Michigan Wolverines Live if they would like to. But anyway, so what do you think this means for the NIL situation and bringing a player back like this?
Yeah, so this is huge. This is what we were looking for. I mean, this is a nice sign in the right direction. We want to see this more in the high school area, not just our own, but it's not even just the Randy Wise connection. There was more NIL involved to bring him back, and they actually were working on this for over a month. So wow. That's what I've heard. So, yeah, I think this is big news for the program. This shows that the NIL is evolving, taking steps in the right direction. And again, you got to credit Sean McGee and Sharon Moore for putting the infrastructure in place, the donors being more motivated, and we're now starting to see the fruits of that hard work. And I can't. When I saw this yesterday, I was so excited because I was like, not only did they do this, but they're publicly promoting it, and we can thank Tennessee for that because now the NCAA has no jurisdiction, has no way of punishing schools for doing NIL. So it's open season. And I do think Michigan's going to start playing ball, as we can see.
But yeah, and they've always had a policy, it seems like, of rewarding current players who do well on the field, and the sales pitch being, you do well on the field, you can do well with NIL, and at least that seems like it's starting to happen.
Right, and you're seeing, Quinten Johnson isn't a Will Johnson, right? He's not a J.J. McCarthy. So when you see these guys who are lower on the depth chart get these types of deals and start making more money, this is what you need to start looking for because this wasn't happening before. The only way the guys were making money previously is during those autograph sessions, when the whole team would do it, and then they would divvy up the entry fees and all of that. So, this is good. This is another step in the right direction. I'm looking to see this occur with the high school level. We've yet to see that really happen. So that's the next step for me, which hopefully we do see happen. But it again, like we do know we're in the 8 figures in terms of total NIL, retention of money, and this is we're working our way up the ladder, and that's what we want to see.
And I don't know if you caught Nick Saban, who has been getting very vocal about NIL, and NIL being a key reason why he retired. And he said, Miss Terry went to him and said, well, why are we doing this? Like, what are we doing? Because all the players, they don't care about development anymore. And I don't know if that's necessarily true across the board. I think he's just generalizing. But clearly Michigan shows that it's not completely the case all the time. But that instead of caring about development and about helping with life skills and things like that, it's about NIL. So like this is the world we're living in now, especially after the ruling.
Yeah, I think that's actually hilarious though, because Nick Saban has been paying recruits since
allegedly. Yes, allegedly.
He was giving kids $60K to come to Alabama over 10 years ago, and the Valdosta high school coach exposed him, which if people don't know what Valdosta is, it's a very prestigious high school program in Georgia. And if you look at any coach who leaves the Saban tree, Sarkisian, Kirby Smart, etc., they start thriving in the same game. And it's because they learn from the masters. So, I mean, I find it interesting. I mean, he's not wrong, though. Obviously, things are more extreme. But I think the reality is competition got too much, and kids and the price of players became so heavy, and it became so normalized. It got to a point where it was an uncomfortable situation for him. But, I don't have any sympathy for him because he's the godfather of he's not the godfather. This has been going on since the 60s. Let's be honest. But Saban's success is largely contributed to the financial inducement of players.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle on this one because on the one hand, the people who are saying that Nick Saban's and you're not doing this, but there are people who are saying Nick Saban's doing this because, he's doing the old man shaking his fist. And we all know that Nick Saban, the only reason he won so many titles was because he was able to innovate his offense, bring in Lane Kiffin, Sark, and go to more of a spread concept on offense. And on defense, he also made changes. And, without that, he wouldn't have won all his titles. But on the other hand, I'm with you. Like, he's just upset he's not one of 5 coaches paying players. Now everybody gets to pay players. Exactly. So he's a little upset with the parity now that's happening. But
no, I mean, you're 100% right, because he evolved his schematic system offensively. He's also a great developer of leaders. I mean, his coaching tree is legit. It's one of the better ones. And if it was as easy as just paying for players, Texas A&M, Miami, USC would be far better than they are. So the reality is he is a damn good coach, but he did have a little assistance,
True. And, so back to Quinten, there were a couple of plays. Obviously he had some real impact plays, this past year, most notably the fumble on Jalen Milroe in the Rose Bowl, which honestly, every single defensive play that they made was so crucial because the way Saban works, like you have to play you don't have to play perfect, but you have to play pretty strong football to beat Nick Saban. And every one of those plays was so important. Quinten Johnson had a pretty major one with that fumble.
Yeah, definitely. And, with Keon Saab leaving for Alabama, right, there's definitely an opportunity here for more playing time. Now, I've seen some people be upset with, Quinten Johnson's he's going to block playing time for the younger players in development. But the reality is there's going to be tons of opportunity because you have Keon Saab gone, Mike Sanderson's gone. Mm-hmm. And the way that we do our defense, we have, all the different packages where you can throw extra guys in there, a dime backer, So, like DJ Walker played dime backer. So, like, the reality is, like, I think it's going to be a great addition. Our defense was already going to be strong. It just got stronger. I mean, this definitely is not a negative.
Well, also, wasn't Keon Sabb the projected nickel back with both of the starting safeties returning. So with him going to Alabama, there's an opportunity to be a nickelback
Exactly.
and play quite a few reps. So this argument was made when Blake Corum came. At Blake, was he blocking reps from Donovan Edwards and others, and then we saw that they made it work. Right? They made it work. And so my long-winded point is kind of asking the question, with a player like this coming back, who's able to make plays at the very highest level, the biggest games in Michigan, I would call the Rose Bowl the biggest game, one of the biggest games we've ever had in the entire history of the program. Yes. And he was able to make that play at that time. Right. With a player like that coming back, does it help Michigan get into the playoff at 10-2 potentially?
Well, it doesn't hurt. I'll say that, right? The beauty of college football is your upperclassmen, your juniors, your seniors, your redshirt seniors. Although he will be a 6-year player, thank you, COVID. But the value of that, the IQ of those players is it's tenfold, right? You're teaching the younger guys, you understand the game better, and it's only gonna. I think it strengthens the back end of the defense. We do have some questions at our number 2 corner. He's obviously going to play safety, but in terms of the back end of the defense, though, I just think it only strengthens it, right? So, I mean, personally, the question for me, and I know I've repeated this, it's simply how's our offense going to be? Who's our quarterback? Outside of that, I think defensively we are a national championship caliber defense. I think we will be.
I agree. Yeah. I don't think that's a homer take. I think that's spot on. Even with the coaching, because I think that who said it? Steve Dace said this, that the selection of Wink Martindale as DC was the best selection they could have made to maintain the stability of the defense. Now that they've made that selection and the defensive coaches, I agree with you. I think that they will be able to maintain a championship level defense. And the real question mark is who's the quarterback? And we're going to find out as we start covering spring ball. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but I'm really pumped for the spring game and seeing these quarterbacks go against each other for the spring game.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, the competition at multiple positions from wide receiver to running back, because even though Donovan Edwards is likely going to be the guy, who's going to be number 2? Right? Who's gonna take that? And then offensive line battles. The spring game is gonna be huge. Obviously, we'll cover that in future weeks. But I mean, spring is gonna be a great time because we're going to see how the coaches work with the players, and then the game itself is gonna be it's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, and it'll be nice because a lot of times with these spring, we were robbed of probably the most epic spring game ever because we were robbed of Cade versus JJ, which would have been just because they both would have been playing at all cylinders to try to keep or win that job. So we're going to see a real quarterback competition in this game, and so I'm pretty pumped about that.
Absolutely, yeah, it should be pretty intense.
Yep. So just a quick reminder, everybody, when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as many of us do from time to time, some people don't, that's cool. But if you do, you might as well click the link in any description section to help Mark Rogers and help Voice of College Football Network. It's no extra money if you're already doing it. So why not check it out? And when you're doing your shopping, help Voice of College Football. All right. So other news that has happened. We know that Michigan legend, I call him, and I'd say one of our best running backs coaches we've ever had, Mike Hart, steps down for personal reasons. And I don't want to discuss that. I'd like to discuss the impact and kind of retrospective a little bit before we get to replacements. I mean, this is somebody who we thank profusely for the national championship and for the success in the ability to not just cultivate somebody like Blake Corum, but to take Hassan Haskins and convert him to a successful running back, to take Khalil Mullings, a linebacker, and convert him to a successful running back. I believe that that's the hallmark of not just a good running backs coach, but an elite running backs coach. So, just talk about the impact that he had on Michigan.
Yeah, no question. I mean, I think he was one of the top running back coaches in the nation, and I don't think that's hyperbolic by any means. I mean, the reality is, as soon as he stepped in that position, the running backs improved, all of them. You know, I mean, some will argue, well, Donovan regressed last season, but there's more to that than, you know, there's things that happened off the fields with Donovan.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, look, he got we didn't fumble the ball with Mike. He got the running backs to improve their vision, hit the hole harder. I mean, the fundamentals of the game were just improved drastically. I mean, I like Jay Harbaugh, right? The previous running back coach. I like him, and he's a great recruiter. But when Mike Hart came in, you can see a difference, okay? And not only that, what made Mike Hart better was knowing when to put his guys in, where Jay Harbaugh was trying to, if you remember in 2020, he was trying to rotate 3 running backs. No one could find a rhythm. And with Mike Hart, he seemed to have a feel for the game that really benefited both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards at times. And, you know, it will be a loss on an X and O standpoint, you know, depending on who we get to replace Mike Hart. But, yeah, I mean, a great coach. He was a net positive, but, you know, it's time to obviously move on.
Yeah, and look, I mean, if there's any silver lining to it, we're used to transition at this point, given how much transition there's been this year. So at this point, you know, we're used to it. At least it's not a surprise that a coach is leaving. That's just what, honestly, it's what happens at elite programs, and you see it at the top programs in the country that they have to replace their entire coaching staff practically every year because they all get promotions or they get, you know, opportunities in the NFL or whatever the case may be. But you know, with that said, and we all agree that Mike Hart's impact was tremendous. We've got a couple names here, and by the way, folks, it's probably not going to be Denard. So everybody who's saying Denard, they want your clicks. But there are 5 names that continue to emerge in various articles, sources, etc. So based on what you see on the screen, we've got Charles Huff at Marshall, Dylan McCall at Notre Dame, DeMarco Murray at Oklahoma. I saw in like 3 or 4 different articles. Jonathan Wallace at Kansas, and Kenny Burns at Kent State. So what's your take on where their thought process is and who might be emerging?
All right. So this is exciting, in my opinion. I mean, this is probably the most exciting coaching search outside of the coordinators. So we know for a fact that Sharon Moore is looking for a big fish. And, you know, I'll quote Sam Webb here where he says, jaw-dropping hire. Now, from my understanding, from what I've been told from some people, is this hire that he's chasing right now is someone he doesn't want to leak, right? So if anyone has a coaching list, even though we just provided a list of potential home run hires, right, doesn't know what they're talking about, because the reality is Sharon Moore is not telling anybody, even within the building. That's why it's not leaking. It's why you're not getting any hits on Twitter. Because what's happening is he's trying to lock his guy up before it becomes public, so he doesn't run into another problem like he did with the Houston defensive back coach, Adioki. So, and also there's another situation that I don't know if you're aware of this, John, but right now with Mike Hart, they're trying to reach a settlement, even though his contract expired, because he was on leave. They have to reach a settlement for him to be let go, because then you start running into problems since he was on leave, personal leave. So they have to reach a settlement. Once that settlement has been reached, then they will move forward with hiring of whoever this individual is, which we have some options who I think are good fits. And then we should have a new running back coach before spring ball, is by all indications.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, and obviously, at first, DeMarco Murray was kind of like, what? But then, you know, you read, you know, a bunch, you keep seeing the same 1 or 2 names on these, and starts to make a little bit of sense. Some of these people, you know, given the fact that obviously he was a great running back in the NFL, you know, and running backs coach at Arizona, Oklahoma. You know, he's got some bona fides, both as a player and a coach. And I'm not surprised to see his name start to pop up. Is there anybody you're kind of leaning toward, or a couple people you're leaning toward a little more so?
Yeah. So my dream hire, right? And if this happens, and there's some smoke here, and I'll get into that, but it's Charles Huff. If we can get Charles Huff, this is a freaking grand slam. Okay.
Yeah.
This guy is arguably top 3 recruiter in the country. Okay. And if anyone wants to look at his all-time recruit list, it'll blow you away. He was formerly from Alabama. So, I mean, I'm sure you can get an idea if you're not familiar. Right now he's the head coach of Marshall, but from all indications, things aren't the best. You know, there's some, it's not there's some turbulence there apparently between the head coach and the administration at Marshall. Also, the reason why there's some smoke is because we're seeing those who are tracking the social media. He's starting to follow all the coaches from Michigan. He just followed Quinten Johnson today, or maybe it was yesterday. It might have been yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yeah.
He's following Michigan players. Why? Why is he doing that? So it's very interesting. Some people think it could mean something. I mean, it does seem pretty random to just, I don't know, follow Quinten Johnson for no reason. But yeah, so that's the home run hire. And then we can get into some of the other guys after.
Yeah, no, I think Charles Huff would be slam dunk. Yeah, his record at Marshall 22-17, not the best, not the worst. 1-2 in bowls. So I could see why, you know, there might start to be a little bit of friction there. Then again, how successful, yeah, you know, do you like what's their success criteria? You know, at Marshall, how successful do they want to be? You know, at what have they, how much have they accomplished? Their all-time record is a little above 500. Mm-hmm. So they're not exactly killing it, historically. They've had some glances of success, but I don't really quite get, but maybe it's off the field. Maybe it's other clashes. Cause you know, we know Jim Harbaugh was doing great at the 49ers, and then there were clashes up above. So if we get him, that's huge.
Right. Even Harbaugh had clashes with Michigan, right? So there's the rumors of him and Ward clashing, right? So, but from my understanding, Charles Huff is clashing not only because of performance-wise, so he's essentially in a situation where he's in a prove-it year, and he may just want to start fresh because he already knows next year it might not be much better than what it previously has been. On top of that, from my understanding, they're also having internal issues like in terms of like NIL and things of that nature. Like there's just a lot of struggle with him at Marshall. So a little bit of turbulence going on there. So I think there is an opportunity. And like I said, if we hire him, like this is not only a good recruiter, or not a great recruiter, but he's a good X and O's coach. So he's the home run hire. But you know, and then if we go down the list, we got McCullough from Notre Dame. Now,
yeah,
the reason, so I had that name brought to me by somebody, and the reason why people think this could be the potential hire is because Sharon Moore is playing it so close to the vest, right? So the last time, if you remember, John, we it kind of got leaked that we were looking at one of the I'm trying to remember who it was a few weeks ago for the general manager role for Michigan. We were looking at the administrative guy at Notre Dame, and then they upped his offer.
Right.
Freeman kept him and like increased his offer and all that. So they're trying to avoid that, which is another reason why it's not leaking. And on top of that, he's just a great coacher. A great coach, and understands the area. And not only that, because Notre Dame is similar academically, he would fit in very well. So he's a coach to look at, and it would also be a nice win over Notre Dame.
We've got Notre Dame people in chat right now going nuts. Stay away from, but look, the man won a Super Bowl as a running backs coach for the Chiefs. He's got some serious bona fides, and obviously being assistant head coach and running backs coach at Notre Dame, you know, he coached some pretty legit running backs, and he's got a pretty good record.
Yeah, and he's a damn good recruiter too. So I mean, he'd be a nice hire. He would be a jaw dropper because the polling from Notre Dame, people would be like, oh my God, you know. But you know, kind of like Mike Elston, even though Mike Elston's obviously a former player. But DeMarco Murray's the other guy. So the reason why there's a lot of interest here is, one, DeMarco Murray's a hell of a recruiter. Mm-hmm. He's a pretty strong coach, and he's very good at recruiting the South, which, if you've noticed, anyone's following recruiting, Michigan's trying to build pipelines into Texas. So this would be a huge get for that reason. And then Sharon has familiarity with DeMarco Murray. Obviously, Sharon is formerly from Oklahoma. That's where he played.
Yeah. They played.
So there's a lot of connections there. There's actually been word that he has reached out. He reached out to DeMarco Murray a month ago.
Wow.
So we'll see. I don't know. Is he the guy? I don't know. I don't know who is the guy. I just know that there is a guy out there. We just don't know the name yet. And then if we go to Jonathan Wallace is Kansas, another guy who has Texas pipelines, Texas ties, a good, strong coach. A strong
one thing
recruiter.
before we move on, I just wanted to mention Oklahoma was in the mix for one of our famous running backs, Donovan Edwards, because of Murray's recruiting job.
Right, exactly.
Was very high on the list. So you mentioned recruiter. Maybe he didn't hit, but obviously we're very glad he didn't, because we then got to have him at Michigan. But look, he's shown that he can do it, and now he's got the tenure at Oklahoma, and can I think that would be an amazing hire if we got him.
Yeah. And then Jonathan Wallace is what people are saying is an up and comer. He's on his way up, and a lot of people in coaching circles have a lot of respect for him. He's a very aggressive recruiter and a good X and O's coach. So he's one of the options there. And then the last one's Kenny Burns. Now, a lot of people probably aren't familiar with Kenny Burns, but he's the former running back coach at Minnesota. He's currently the head coach at Kent State. Now, this guy is considered a real fast riser, a very, very good recruiter, very good X and O's coach. And obviously, if you pull a head coach from even a group of 5 program, and he's now your running back coach, that's a big hire. So these are the names that I would say get familiar with. It doesn't mean it's going to be one of these guys, but if we are looking for a jaw-dropping hire, these 5 would qualify.
So it does look like he's under a $3 million contract with Kent State, but his record is such that they may be very happy to pay whatever the buyout is to let him go. Exactly. It's 1-11, which, even though normally you get a second year, 1-11 isn't exactly ideal. But he obviously has a history. He worked obviously years at Minnesota, and then Western Michigan for a year before that, with PJ Fleck, who so they did that. It's that could be a situation where Michigan starts to take that Alabama role of bringing coaches in that may not do super great as a head coach,
right?
But they could be one hell of a running backs coach.
That's right. You're Lane Kiffin, right? It's exactly, you're trying to find the coaches who have the intellectual mind and the aggressive recruiting prowess, right? Like, you're trying to find the guys who are fast risers and up and comers, and all these, the younger guys fit that. Charles Huff, I think, might be the oldest one on the list. He's only 40 though, but I mean, it's a strong list. We should have an announcement before spring ball. They want to do that because background checks take like 3 weeks now at Michigan, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, yeah, I know some people have said that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, because look, with the world, I'm not going to get too much into this, but with the world the way that it is, I'm glad that we've hired a vetting firm that takes a very thorough look at social media, takes a very thorough look at past statements and affiliations and all of that, because what we don't need is any more PR disasters. I think the last couple of years have been enough. So take your time, as long as it doesn't negatively impact recruiting too much. Take your time to get it right, and let's maybe have a no drama. Can we possibly have one no drama situation for a little while?
Yeah. So I want to add, though, so people might be asking, well, who's going to coach the running backs since Mike Hart's gone, and we have to look for a replacement that could take 3 weeks to fill. So Fred Jackson's going to take the role of running back coach until the new coach is hired in and able to coach his guys.
Isn't it great that Fred Jackson's just willing to be interim running backs coach when needed? It's so cool. Obviously Michigan legend. Bring this could be, I mean, if they are going to go the Denard route, which I again, like we said, we think that's not going to happen, but if Denard was the option, then this would be the thing to do, right? Bring Fred Jackson back for a year to mentor him. But I like you said, I just don't don't see it.
Yeah, so let me just hit on the Denard thing. So I know for a fact that they're not going in-house for a running backs coach. That's been confirmed to me. And the reason why is they want new blood. And for one, Denard's excelling in the position he's in, and he really likes the role that he's in. He's not actually looking to be a running backs coach. That's for one. For two, they want new blood. They want guys who are very aggressive in recruiting. Sharon is very recruiting focused while maintaining X and O's, coaching, skill sets. Right? He's looking for a full package at every position coach. And if you look at all of his hires, every single coach he's hired is an aggressive recruiter. Also young. He wants to relate to the players. So I think people need the reason why you're seeing the Denard hype is because one, obviously he's a former running back in the NFL, and he's one of the best runners to ever put on a Michigan uniform, but he's a household name. So it's very easy for people to go to the familiar name and get clicks. There's a lot of people clickbaiting right now. Like, I don't know if anyone's aware of Woodward Sports Talk, right? But they had a thing on it, and I commented, and I was like, take this down. Like, this is clickbait. Take this down. What are you doing right now? But
yeah.
So
Dave's has a great point. Fred Jackson has now coached on every staff since Bo.
That is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have him in the program, man. And from my understanding, he's very happy, like, just being in the background, just doing his part.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, we do want to thank the man himself, voice of college football, for stopping by and giving this comment. That's very cool, and we appreciate that. As well as everybody who's here and spending their time. They could be doing anything, but they're here with us to talk Michigan football tonight. So we thank you for that. Just a quick reminder, of course, that you can be a Patreon member, a YouTube member, starting at just $2.99, and join our Discord chat where we talk Michigan and lots of football all the time. Also, you can be part of our College Football After Dark panel. You get priority when we do a show on the main channel in terms of where your comment goes. If you're a YouTube member, the comment goes up. We try to give those priorities. So there's lots of reasons to join, support the network, and be a part of what we're doing here at Voice of College Football. Also, of course, Joey Foster would kill me if I don't mention the merch store. So we've got all kinds of tremendous merch and products, for the family, friends, the college football fan in your life. And there's a lot going on here. So obviously for Michigan, we've got a couple of products you can check out. Including pint glasses to cheers for the latest national championship here. You got hoodies that Mike Fort likes to wear when he's on. You got your Michigan football dog bowl shirts, mugs, and of course a ton of merch for the main channel as well. Like literally 3 pages of stuff. I'm eyeing up the notebook. The notebook, I need a new notebook, and it looks like a nice one. You got some good hats. You got lots of things going on here. So do us a favor and just check it out. And if there's something that looks good, go ahead and support the network and get it. Whether it's Michigan gear or Voice of College Football, we do appreciate that. And I'm sure Moose will or somebody will post the link, or actually I'll just do it right here. So everybody can scan that after the show. There it is. Thanks, everybody. Okay. So JJ McCarthy, where's he going? So FanDuel has now the Vikings, due to the recent move to move their certain quarterback, Kirk Cousins, out the door. And the Falcons, of course, scooping him up for a ridiculous amount of money. Well, now the Vikings need a quarterback. And so J.J. McCarthy is plus 150 to go to the Vikings. And then I like him. So TJ, I really like the idea of him at the Giants. And the reason I like that idea is because Danny Dimes can still be the quarterback. JJ can learn, and they can do what Michigan did in 2021. When you need a little bit more of a dynamic quarterback, a run threat, you put JJ in for a series or two. That's what Michigan did. And hey, it led to a Big Ten championship win and an Ohio State beating Ohio State. So maybe you put him in, sprinkle him in. He learns from Daniel Jones and from Daboll and that staff. And then maybe next year, I like that scenario where he doesn't have to start like snap one, game one. He can learn because there's so many differences between college and the NFL, internally, externally. There's a lot that you have to learn when you're starting out. So I think it would be great if he could sit at least a little while to learn. But where do you kind of fall into all this? Looking at the FanDuel line here.
Yeah. Well, I think Falcons should be not on the line because they just got Kirk Cousins, right? But yeah, I think you bring a good point though, because if you look at like what Jordan Love or what Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre, I mean, we've seen the evidence in the NFL where just sitting behind for a year or two really helps a quarterback really develop, learn the game, understand the ins and outs of it. Plus, in a market like New York, that might not be a bad thing, right? Because the media is probably the most aggressive in all of sports. I personally think the Vikings are going to be gunning for J.J. McCarthy. Now, I know the Vikings have pick 11, right? And the Patriots, or not the Patriots, but the Giants are pick 6, I believe.
I think
so. They are. So the Minnesota's going to have to trade up to get him. But if you look at what's going on with Minnesota right now, they obviously don't have Kirk Cousins. They just signed Sam Darnold to be their veteran quarterback. So it seems, I feel like the Vikings are going to try and get ahead of the Patriots. And I do think you're right, though, between the Vikings and the Patriots, the Vikings and the Giants, I just think those two teams are going to be the most aggressive for J.J. McCarthy. Because I think New England's going to go another direction, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
who do you think they might go with?
I think New England's Drake May, even though I saw today there was a mock draft where I think it was, who was it? Was it the Athletic where they had J.J. McCarthy going ahead of Drake May? I feel like it's going to go Williams 1. Washington's probably going to take Jaden Daniels, and then New England's going to go Drake May. Although I would go Jaden Daniels, but I'm not Chicago. So, but even though Justin Fields doesn't have a landing spot right now, but yeah, I feel like JJ will probably be the 4th quarterback taken. If he is the 3rd, although let's add this too though, pro days haven't happened yet, right? So he very well could. I mean, I'd be interested to see these odds, how much they adjust from now to draft day, right? Because now you're going to get the pro days. You're going to see if things start leaking from different camps and or different teams, So we'll see. But I mean, if I was to put my money on it, I'd put either Vikings or the Giants. I think those are the 2 teams to watch.
Well, and everybody talks about, the difference between combine and pro day. You get to throw to your receivers, or people you're familiar with. Whereas with the combine, I think he had one throw to Cornelius Johnson, maybe. And then every other throw was to somebody who he had never spent much time with. But, in the pro day, he'll be able to throw to his people, right? And he'll be able to stand out. And so I don't think it's completely impossible that he goes top 3, or extremely high, but I would prefer he doesn't because I think that there's a sweet spot, and I feel like it's like 8 to, maybe 6 to 12, somewhere in there, because then the bonus money isn't as high. So the pressure to play him on game 1, snap 1 isn't as high. He can sit a little while. And then, let's face it, Daniel Jones is not going to be able to fend off J.J. McCarthy for more than a year. It reminds me of Cade McNamara, J.J. McCarthy all over again.
Especially if they start losing, right? If they start losing, the fans are going to go, they're going to be on his head. So,
the Patriots would be interesting. There's obviously the Tom Brady connection in terms of, wouldn't it be something if JJ goes to the Patriots and wins some more Super Bowls? But I like the Giants. For his development, I like the Giants. For realism and what I think will happen, I agree with you. It seems like the Vikings are now by far the top candidate. But I hope he goes to the Giants personally.
Yeah, no, I think you bring up good points. I didn't even think of the New England aspect of it. That's hilarious. Yeah. So, I mean, if that happens, wow. Right. But, yeah, I think, but good on JJ, man. Cause like before this draft process even started, I was kind of thinking, end of the first round in the late 20s or
Yeah,
mid
me
20s.
too. Yeah.
But, he's
End of the
really,
first round, maybe. Yeah.
but I mean, he's made a lot of believers in the last month and a half. I mean, you got all these scouts and analysts on Twitter, certified scouts and analysts, not just guys like, people who sit and watch games on Saturday like us. You have a legitimate scouts and analysts being like, yo, you need to watch the tape on JJ. He's legitimate, right? And now people are starting to question, is he number 3? Because he worked his way to number 4, and now people are like, well, is he better than Drake May? And that's kind of where we are right now. So I mean, the process is a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see where he goes. If anyone wants to take that 150 line for the Vikings, that's probably the one I'd go with. But yeah, so good luck to JJ. We'll see where it goes.
Absolutely right. Reminder, everybody, that coming up, we've got a couple shows to let you know about. So every Friday night, we have Big Ten Live with Mark Rogers and Tim Prengley is usually on that as well, where you can actually pick up the phone and dial Mark and go old school and have a conversation with him that way to talk Big Ten football. And then Monday nights, of course, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have a show called The Ocho, or now Big Ten Live Ocho Edition, as we're officially calling it, where yesterday night we had Daniel House, who is the founder of Gophers Guru. And we were talking Minnesota football, and not just college football, but I definitely brought up the situation with Kirk Cousins and the possibilities there of JJ. And so anybody who wants to check that out, that was last night, and that's available on the main channel. Coming up next is going to be Oregon Ducks live at midnight tonight. So those of you want to stay up a little bit, maybe you don't have to get up like I do at early and get going, but I'm going to try to stop by, hit the like button at least. If y'all can do that for the different channels, we do appreciate those Michigan faithful that show up to the USC show, that show up to Oregon, that show up to X, Y, and Z show and support the others. It's really cool. And we have a pretty awesome Michigan community that supports everybody here. So we appreciate that. So with that said, last but certainly not least, of course, is you and kind of giving your kind of final thoughts on what you've been seeing this week and then where people can find you.
Yeah. So final thoughts. We're a week away from spring ball, where things are about to get exciting. We got visits starting next Monday, I think, is the first visit for recruiting. So that'll be fun to follow. And, let's see who this mystery coaching candidate is, because I'm pretty excited to see, who actually becomes our next running back coach. But if you want to find me, I'm at Ronin Sports Talk. You can give me a follow, and I'll greatly appreciate that. And if you guys can like and subscribe to the channel, I know John would greatly appreciate that, because we're trying to build it and beat Ohio State, because we can't let them win. That's not acceptable by any means, and it would really mean a lot to us. So, please like and subscribe, and we'd really appreciate it.
Well, TJ, that means a lot, and exactly what he said. So I got to take a break from saying it one time, and so that's always appreciated. TJ, really appreciate you stopping by as always. Go Blue, and I'm gonna wrap up for a second, and then we'll be done. But we'll see you next time. Okay.
See you next time. Go Blue.
Go Blue. All right, so that was TJ, and you can definitely catch him on Ronin Sports Talk. You can go to x.com/Ronin Sports Talk. The link is in the chat to give him a follow. He's been giving his great kind of takes on things, and kind of the look that he has, not just reading articles, but talking to people. And really trying to be plugged in. And we have members of the community doing that too, like Moose, in terms of the recruiting side. I don't think I see somebody so hard in the paint on recruiting that isn't like a 247 employee. So like we have some people who go really hard in the paint to learn about what's new with Michigan football, what's coming up next. And we do have Lady Lake here. Lady Lake, of course, helped us get our official song. So we do have, if you remember, at the start of every episode, we have a song, we have an opening, and David Martinez has donated the intro song for us, "Fast and Hard." It's a great song if you want to listen to the whole thing. But we've clipped a little bit of it for the opening, so definitely check David Martinez's work out. He's a great musician. So with that said, I agree with you, Moose. I'm very excited to watch the spring game. I think it's going to be the most interesting spring game we've had in a while, especially with the quarterback battle. And even though I'm not, look, I'm a Michigan fan, but I'm excited to watch a lot of the spring games, including Ohio State's, because they have a quarterback battle. And these different schools that have quarterback battles. Just as a football fan, I'm excited to watch them, but Michigan's in particular, because the quarterback for Michigan is obviously going to determine a lot, right? Does Michigan go back to the playoffs? Which, of course, you can do now with 9 or 10 wins. And with Michigan's strength of schedule being significantly higher, with Texas, obviously was just in the playoffs, the 4-team playoff, and the games that we have with Ohio State, with Oregon, with USC, it's a gauntlet schedule. And so I think there is a case for 9, but to leave no doubt, you got to get 10. I think that's kind of where I fall in on this. So it all starts with the spring game, and it starts with seeing how the players who are coming back have progressed. Want to thank you, Dependent Fanatic, for that. Let's see here. True Lol, we need to take notes. Yeah. Oh, we're going to take notes. Oh, I'm sure that Moose and I are going to be on the DMs and watching every snap. We were watching God knows how many hours of NFL Combine to look for the Michigan players and try to, I had to fast forward through the non-Michigan players except for a couple of them. But I did watch all the quarterbacks because that's interesting to me. But yeah, so I'm sure we'll be doing it again for the spring game that's going to be coming up. Yes. How many hours did we watch? It must have been like 15. It was a lot. But we do it for Big J journalism here at the Voice of College Football. So with all that said, my name's John Diadamo. I was your host for the last since 8. And you can catch me on 2 shows every week. My next show is going to be Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for Big Ten Live, the Ocho edition, where we'll have another great guest. You guys tell me who you want as the next team. We just had Minnesota. Who's coming up next? Because we're doing them all. So who would you like to see represented next? And I will do my best to reach out to a couple of different people in the media and to be our guest for the Ocho. So check that out Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then I'll be back for this show Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. Big Ten Live with Mark Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and coming up on our must-see TV, The Lock, Oregon Ducks live at a special time, midnight Eastern. Let's see if there's some final comments here from our gallery. We've had an interest in Penn State. Okay. I do have a couple of contacts at Penn State I could hit up. Look out for Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy will. I'm going to. We've tried to stay away from definitives. But I'm going to definitively say, and you can skewer me if I'm wrong, that Denard is not going to get hired and Eric Bieniemy is not going to get hired as running backs coach. And if I'm wrong, hit the comments. All right. We'll see everybody at midnight for Oregon Ducks Live. And until next time, this is John Diano saying, go blue. and see you for the next show.